Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me is Phaedra Ellis-Lamkins, founder and CEO of Promise, a Black female-led payment technology platform to help underserved communities. Phaedra, it's great to meet with you. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thank you for having me.
And Phaedra, there are real consequences for people who can't pay their government debt. Tell us more about that.
There's really serious consequences. Everything from if you miss a parking ticket, for example, you could then have your driver's license suspended and then end up incarcerated. And so we see consequences from having your lights turned off, your water turned off, ending up incarcerated. Not paying your government debt is really a threat to folks' livelihood and their way of living if we don't do something about it.
How has the pandemic impacted underserved communities?
It's impacted underserved communities really significantly. And we see this in loss of jobs, loss of housing, and not just because people are losing their jobs, but because we see also people losing their steady income, right? And we see that volatility in people who are working in hospitality, people who are working in restaurants and other places. And what's been interesting to us is that we're not just seeing it in underserved communities, but people who are one paycheck away. So for a lot of people who lost that one paycheck, and so in some places, 40% of people where we're working with the utility have not made their current monthly bill. And so it's shifted. It's not just people who traditionally struggle, but all those folks that we talk about that were one paycheck away have lost that paycheck.
Why is the government not equipped to handle this problem on its own?
Yeah, so we think a lot about payment structures. And so the reason is, like, right now, government assumes that you have the money when it's due. And that's why you're beginning to see things like the IRS push back the tax deadline. And so it's just not structured. It's built on old legacy software, or it's built on older systems. And so it isn't like where you have payment systems that are flexible, that are interest only. And we see that in the private sector, right? Increasingly, people are beginning to recognize that payment systems and payment structures can no longer be, you have the money on that date. And so our software is all about recognizing that payment systems and government should be as flexible. Just like it's easy to buy a Peloton, it should be easy to pay your taxes. It should be easy to pay your parking ticket. With Venmo, with Cash App, you should be able to pay an interest-free in 60 days if you can't do it that day. It's all about the systems. It's redesigning of payment systems for government.
Yeah, I mean, even something as basic as setting a wire takes 2 to 3 days, which in my mind, it seems pretty ridiculous with the technology that exists with everything else that we have available. So to your point, but let's look on the positive side. Can you share some inspiring stories that Promise has seen?
Yeah, it's my favorite thing to do is to listen to phone calls. And so we see things like a partnership with Louisville Water, where they're actually providing immediate debt relief with CARES money. So our software allows people to get their full utility bills paid. So there's nothing like listening to a call from someone who thinks that their water is going to be shut off and hearing that, in fact, the whole water bill has been paid and disappeared. It's amazing to hear. Our staff gets blessed daily, gets sent loving kindness. We also seen in things like a woman whose car was going to be repossessed, being able to put herself on a payment plan for parking tickets so that she can stop her car from being repossessed, and then can continue to keep her driver's license so that she can work for a ride sharing company. And so for us, it's really about those stories of people being able to pay their bills, keep their lights on, keep their water on, being able to keep their driver's license, not just not face the consequences, but have dignity in repayment.
And that's a great point you make, because it's such a domino effect. And I think that's really the point behind the whole thing. So those are great stories to have been shared. Thank you for that. What was the genesis behind the company, and why is a platform like Promise more important than ever right now?
We are a venture-backed company, started in 2017. And originally, we were really focused on how to make government systems work for people. We started with bail reform, recognizing that 2/3 of the people that are incarcerated pre-trial have not been convicted of the crime. They just couldn't afford to get out. And so we thought, that doesn't make sense. And how do we fix that problem? And what we increasingly realized is that people are incarcerated or in the system because of fees and fines, because they couldn't afford something, because of poverty. And so we really saw growth when we created a payments platform for government debt that allows people flexibility. And it's more important now than ever because people are struggling. And I worry that we're not clear about how many people are struggling when we talk to people. We used to, for example, have a payment system that assumed you could break something into 4 easy payments, so that it would be, if you owed $200, it would be 4 months of $50. What we realize is many people do not have $50 now. So we now have to do, you start with $5, whatever works. And so I think it's meeting people where they are. It's making sure that government has reliable income, and it's recognizing that government should work for the people. And the idea that you can't use Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal does not make sense. The idea that someone's going to walk in or have a check, payment systems cannot work like that. And I just think as people are struggling, we have to meet them where they are.
All right, Phaedra, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you.